So, they finally noticed. Look who they can't stop analyzing. Welcome back, you beautiful, unexplainable force. They've been watching you, haven't they? Tracking your moves like you're some kind of classified experiment. And lately, the whispers got louder. They're convinced someone's been coaching you, teaching you, programming you with knowledge that doesn't match your history. They see the way you move now, calculated, precise, unbothered, and they know something shifted. They know you didn't just wake up like this. They're right to be suspicious. Because yeah, you've been getting coached. You've been receiving downloads, strategies, patterns, instincts that don't come from books or therapy or motivational podcasts. But here's the part that'll make their skin crawl. It ain't human. Whatever's been guiding you, shaping you, whispering instructions in the silence between your thoughts, it didn't come from this dimension. And now they feel it. They feel the shift in your energy, the upgrade in your awareness, the way you see through lies before they finish the sentence. They thought you were just healing. No, you were being rebuilt by something that doesn't play by earthly rules. They started noticing it months ago, didn't they? The way you stopped reacting to their bait. The way you cut people off without guilt, without explanation, like you were following orders from something they couldn't see. And that's exactly what terrifies them, because they know manipulation, they know psychology, they know how to control people using fear, guilt, shame, love. But you became immune. Overnight, you developed antibodies to every tactic they tried. How? That's what keeps them up at night. How did someone who used to flinch suddenly become untouchable? How did someone who used to explain themselves endlessly suddenly move in silence like a trained operator? They search your social media for clues. They watch your eyes in conversations. They analyze your words looking for the source, the teacher, the guru. But they'll never find it because it's not a person. It's not a mentor you can Google. It's not some self-help course you can trace back. It's something older, something that doesn't have a name in their language. You feel it too, don't you? That presence, or that knowing, that voice that doesn't speak in words but in certainty. It shows up when you need it most, right before you're about to slip. Right before you're about to fall back into old patterns, something catches you. Something steadies your hand. Something reminds you who you're becoming. And it's not gentle. It's not soft. It doesn't coddle you or tell you everything's going to be okay. It tells you to move. It tells you to cut. It tells you to burn what needs burn and walk away without looking back. That's not therapy. That's not healing in the way they teach it. That's training. That's warfare. That's an intelligence operating through you that's preparing you for something they'll never understand. And the wildest part, you didn't ask for it. You didn't summon it. It chose you. When you hit rock bottom, when you were broken, invisible, erased from their world, something saw you. Something reached through the void and said, this one can handle what's coming. Now they watch you move through life like you're reading from a script they can't access. Like you know something they don't. And they're right, you do. You know the game is rigged. You know their smiles are hollow. You know exactly when someone's lying. Not because you studied body language, but because something inside you reads frequency. You've been upgraded. Your intuition isn't intuition anymore. It's precision. It's surgical. It's operating at a level that makes psychologists look like children playing dress-up. They want to know who's coaching you so they can either join the program or destroy it. But there's no program. There's no school. There's no curriculum. There's just you and whatever force decided you were worth salvaging. And now they're stuck, watching someone they thought they understood become completely unrecognizable. They're watching someone they thought they broke become unbreakable. They're watching someone they thought they deleted come back stronger, sharper, colder, more dangerous than anything they've ever encountered. And deep down, beneath all their questions and theories, they know the truth. Whatever's guiding you, it ain't human, and it damn sure ain't on their side. Let's talk about what actually happened, because they're close, but they're still guessing. You didn't find a mentor. You became a receiver. Somewhere in the wreckage of your old life, in the silence after everyone abandoned you, in the nights you spent staring at ceilings wondering if you'd survive, something tuned into your frequency. Not because you were special, not because you were chosen in some cosmic lottery, but because you were empty. You were hollowed out. You were a blank slate after the fire burned through you, and that made you the perfect vessel. See, most people are too full of opinions, too full of conditioning, too full of noise. But you lost everything. Your identity shattered, your beliefs collapsed, your trust evaporated, and in that emptiness, something else moved in. Not possessing you, partnering with you, teaching you without words, showing you without sight. You started knowing things you never learned. You started seeing patterns you never studied. You started making moves that didn't come from logic. It started small, didn't it? A thought that didn't feel like yours, an urge to leave a room right before drama erupted. A sudden clarity about someone's intentions that proved correct days later. You brushed it off as coincidence at first, but then it kept happening over and over until you couldn't deny it anymore. Something was feeding you information. Something was guiding your steps. Something was protecting you from mistakes you would have made in the past. And the more you listened, the stronger it got. The more you trusted it, the clearer it became. Now, it's not even a voice anymore. It's instinct, it's reflex, it's automatic. You don't think about how to respond to manipulation anymore. Your body just moves. Your mouth just speaks. Your feet just walk away. Like you're being remote controlled by something that knows the future. They see it in your timing. The way you show up exactly when you need to. The way you disappear exactly when you should. The way you speak exactly what needs to be said without rehearsing. They call it confidence. They call it growth. They call it therapy finally working. No, this is something else entirely. Here's what they don't understand. This force, this intelligence, this presence, it didn't come to make you happy. It didn't come to heal you in some gentle, peaceful way. It came to make you effective. It came to turn you into a weapon. Not against others, but against everything that tried to keep you small. Every limiting belief you ever had, targeted and destroyed. Every fear that held you back, dissected and neutralized. Every person who manipulated you, exposed and removed from your field. This wasn't healing, this was an upgrade, a software update for your consciousness. And now, you're running on a system they don't have access to. They're still operating on fear, on ego, on outdated programming. You're operating on something that sees 10 moves ahead. They react, you respond. They panic, you observe. They chase, you attract. The gap between you and them isn't just growth, it's evolution. And they feel it every time they're near you. That weird discomfort they can't explain. That feeling like you're looking through them instead of at them. That sense that you know more than you're saying. The coaching you're receiving, it doesn't come through words, it comes through silence, through dreams that feel more real than waking life, through sudden knowings that arrive fully formed, through synchronicities that stop feeling like coincidence and start feeling like communication. You'll think about someone and they'll text you. You'll feel like you should avoid a place and later find out something bad happened there. You'll get an urge to start something and it'll open doors you never saw coming. This isn't luck. This isn't manifestation. This is guidance from something that exists outside of time. Something that can see the web of cause and effect in ways your human brain can't process. So it feeds you breadcrumbs, nudges, impulses. And if you follow them, if you trust them, your life starts moving in ways that look like magic to everyone else. But to you, it just feels like finally being in alignment with something real. Finally being connected to something that doesn't lie. Finally having a coach that doesn't have an agenda, doesn't want your money, it just wants you to win. It just wants you to become what you were always supposed to be before the world got its hands on you. Now let's get into the training itself, because this isn't some soft spiritual awakening. This is boot camp. This is trial by fire. This is the kind of training that breaks most people before they even understand what's happening. Because whatever's coaching you, it doesn't care about your comfort. It cares about your capacity. Every betrayal you survived, that was a test. Every loss that crushed you, that was conditioning. Every moment you wanted to give up but didn't, that was you passing to the next level. They thought you were suffering, you were being forged. They thought you were lost, you were being refined. They thought you were broken, you were being emptied of everything weak, and now look at you. Unshakable, unmovable, unbothered by the chaos that sends others spiraling. That's not therapy. That's not time healing wounds. That's the result of being trained by something that knows exactly how much pressure you can take before you transform into something unbreakable. The lessons came fast, didn't they? You learned to spot liars within seconds. You learned to feel energy shifts before words were spoken. You learned to walk away without closure because you realize closure is a trap. You learn that silence is more powerful than explanation. You learn that your absence teaches more than your presence ever could. You learn that people fear what they can't control, and you became uncontrollable. Not reckless, not chaotic, but sovereign, self-governed, operating under laws they don't recognize. And every time you applied these lessons, every time you moved according to this new intelligence, your life improved. Toxic people fell away without you fighting them. Opportunities appeared without you chasing them. Clarity came without you seeking it, because you stopped living by human rules and started living by something deeper. As you stood. Because you stood, something ancient, something that's been here long before civilization tried to tame it. Your ancestors knew this force. They called it different names: instinct, spirit, the knowing. But modern society trained it out of people, replaced it with obedience, with following authority, with trusting systems over self. You got it back. The training never stops, though. Even now, even as you read this, you're being tested. Every conversation is a test. Every decision is a test. Every moment you feel the pull to go back to old patterns, that's a test. And you pass them now, not perfectly, but consistently, because you're not alone in this. Something's watching, something's guiding, something's course correcting you when you drift. They see it in how you recover, how you used to spiral for weeks after a setback and now you reset in hours, how you used to need validation from others and now you barely notice if it's there or not, how you used to fear being alone and now you protect your solitude like it's sacred. That shift didn't happen because you read the right book. It happened because you were being reprogrammed at a level most people never access. Your subconscious was being rewritten. Your belief systems were being overridden. Your default settings were being replaced with something that actually serves you instead of keeping you trapped. And here's what really makes them nervous. You're getting stronger. Every month, every week, sometimes every day, you level up in ways they can't track. They knew you last year and you're unrecognizable now. They knew you last month and even that version is gone. You're shedding skins faster than they can keep up with. Because the coaching you're receiving, it's accelerated, it's compressed. What would take most people decades to learn, you're downloading in months. Not because you're smarter, not because you're better, but because something decided you don't have decades. Something decided you're needed now. Whatever's coming, whatever you're being prepared for, it requires you to be ready soon. So the training intensified, the lessons got harder, the tests got more brutal, and you passed them, you kept passing them. Even when you didn't think you could, even when you wanted to quit, something inside you wouldn't let you. Something kept pushing you forward. And now, you're here, standing in a version of yourself they can't explain, operating at a frequency they can't reach, moving with a certainty they can't fake. They're starting to figure it out now, piece by piece, not the full truth. They're not ready for that, but they're getting closer. They notice you don't argue anymore. You don't defend, you don't explain. You just smile and move, like you know something they don't. And that smile, that unbothered energy, it drives them insane. Because they're used to getting reactions. They're used to pushing buttons and watching people explode, but you're button-proof now. Every manipulation tactic they try just slides off you like water off stone. They accuse you of changing. You agree and keep walking. They try to guilt you. You feel nothing. They attempt to gaslight you. You see right through it. It's like you've developed immunity to human nonsense. And in a way, you have. Because whatever's training you showed you the game, showed you the patterns, showed you that most human interaction is just fear wearing different masks. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you understand the mechanics of manipulation, you become immune to it. Not because you're cold, but because you're awake. The recognition happens in stages. First, they notice you're different. Then, they notice you're untouchable. Then they start wondering who got to you, who changed you, who's pulling your strings. Because in their minds, transformation like yours doesn't happen naturally. It requires intervention. And they're right. But they'll never guess the source. They'll assume it's a person, a mentor, a lover, a therapist, a guru you found online. They'll investigate your circle looking for the puppet master. But your circle is empty. You barely talk to anyone anymore. You're more alone than you've ever been, and yet you're thriving. That doesn't compute in their reality. In their world, you need people. You need support systems. You need validation and advice and guidance from other humans. But you don't. Not anymore. Because you've found something better. Something that doesn't lie. Something that doesn't have ulterior motives. Something that wants you to win without taking anything from you in return. Some of them, the ones who are slightly more aware, they start using different language. They stop asking who's coaching you and start asking what's different about your energy. They feel it, but they can't name it. They sense a presence around you that wasn't there before. Some call it confidence. Others call it darkness. The spiritual ones might call it awakening, but none of them have the right word because the right word doesn't exist in their vocabulary. What you're carrying now, it's not something that fits into neat categories. It's not light or dark. It's not good or evil. It's power. Raw, unfiltered, uncorrupted power. The kind that doesn't need permission. The kind that doesn't apologize. The kind that simply is. And power like that makes people nervous. Especially people who built their identity on controlling others. They look at you and realize their tools don't work anymore. Their tactics fail. Their schemes collapse, not because you're fighting them, but because you're impervious to them. Here's what they'll never understand. This wasn't a choice you made. You didn't decide one day to become untouchable. You didn't wake up and choose to be this way. It chose you. When you were at your lowest, when you had nothing left, when you were ready to disappear, something intervened. Something saw potential in your wreckage. Something recognized that your emptiness could be filled with strength instead of despair. So it moved in, slowly at first, gently even. But once you started listening, once you started trusting, it intensified, it accelerated, it took over parts of your decision-making process, not controlling you, guiding you, like a co-pilot that knows the terrain better than you do. And now, you're so synchronized with it that you can't tell where you end and it begins. Your thoughts feel like your thoughts. Your instincts feel like your instincts, but they're sharper now, faster, more accurate, because they're not just yours anymore. They're coming from something that sees more than you see, knows more than you know, and wants you to become more than you ever imagined possible. The hardest part about this transformation, the part nobody warns you about, is the loneliness that comes with it. Because once you start operating on this new frequency, once you start receiving guidance from something beyond human comprehension, you stop fitting in anywhere. The people who knew you before, they can't relate to you anymore. The conversations that used to matter feel empty now. The drama that used to consume you looks like child's play. You're not better than them. You're just different now. You're playing a different game, and games don't mix. You can't explain this to them. You tried once, maybe twice, and saw the confusion in their eyes. Saw them try to rationalize it, medicalize it, explain it away. So you stopped trying. You stopped sharing. You stopped expecting anyone to understand. And that isolation, it's not punishment, it's protection. Because what you're becoming, it's fragile right now. It's new. It needs space to develop without interference from people who would doubt it, question it, try to logic it away. Surprise. You weren't invisible. You were inevitable. Look who finally got their attention. Not with violence, not with threats, not with some dramatic explosion. No, you got their attention with something far more terrifying. Precision. The kind of precision that makes trained operatives nervous. The kind that makes analysts work overtime. The kind that has federal agents asking questions they're not authorized to answer. Who trained them, they whisper in their sterile offices, staring at the aftermath of your revenge like archaeologists discovering technology that shouldn't exist yet. They've seen rage before. They've cataloged fury. They've filed away 1,000 cases of people who snapped. But you didn't snap. You calculated. You didn't explode. You executed. You didn't scream. You whispered, and somehow that whisper toppled empires they thought were untouchable. And now they're scrambling through their databases, cross-referencing your methods with every known operative, every documented technique, every classified training program, and coming up empty. Because here's what they can't compute. Nobody trained you. You trained yourself in the University of Betrayal, got your doctorate in survival, your certification in reading people like autopsy reports. You didn't go to some camp in the mountains or read leaked CIA manuals. You sat in silence for years, taking notes on every slight, every pattern, every weakness displayed by those who thought you weren't watching. You turned trauma into curriculum and pain into practice drills. They keep asking who trained you because accepting the alternative terrifies them. The alternative being that someone can become this dangerous, this precise, this untouchable without their systems, without their programs, without their permission. You're not supposed to exist. Civilians don't move like you move. Civilians don't think 17 steps ahead. Civilians don't execute psychological operations that would make seasoned intelligence officers take notes. But you're not a civilian anymore, are you? You're something they don't have a classification for. Let's talk about what has them so shook, shall we? It wasn't the revenge itself. They've seen revenge before, studied it, categorized it into neat little boxes, labeled crime of passion or temporary insanity. But your revenge? It was architectural. Every move calculated to create maximum impact with minimum exposure. Every step designed to be untraceable, undeniable, and absolutely surgical. You didn't just hurt those who hurt you. You dismantled them systematically, piece by piece, using their own weapons against them. The FBI has behavioral analysis units. They have predictive models. They have decades of data on how people seek revenge. Hot, messy, emotional, obvious. That's what revenge looks like in their files. But you served it at exactly 0 degrees, with the kind of patience that makes surveillance teams question their sanity. You waited not days, not months, but years, letting them get comfortable, letting them think they'd won, letting them build higher just so the fall would be that much more devastating. Your revenge didn't leave fingerprints, because you never touched anything direct. You just rearranged the circumstances, shifted the variables, whispered the right truths to the right people at the right time. You turned their allies into witnesses, their strengths into vulnerabilities, their victories into evidence. The FBI can't figure out if you're a vigilante or a ghost, a mastermind or a force of nature. They're trying to profile someone who doesn't fit any profile, because you wrote your own. What really has them losing sleep is the sophistication. You didn't just plan A to B to C. You planned for every contingency, every countermove, every possible response. You had backup plans for your backup plans, exit strategies for your exit strategies. You moved like someone who'd been doing this for decades, but their records show you're just a civilian who got pushed too far. Or at least, that's what you used to be. They're searching for your training ground, aren't they? Checking military records, scanning through special forces databases, looking for gaps in intelligence agency personnel files. They're convinced someone somewhere taught you how to move like smoke, strike like lightning, and vanish like you were never there. But they'll never find that training ground because it doesn't exist in any place they can access. It exists in every sleepless night you spent replaying scenarios, every anxiety attack that taught you to control your breathing, every betrayal that taught you to read micro-expressions. Your drill sergeants were the people who smiled while they destroyed you. Your combat training was dodging psychological warfare from people who claimed to love you. Your intelligence gathering was learning to decode lies in real time, to spot manipulation before it fully formed, to predict betrayal by the shift in someone's posture. You didn't need a black site or classified program. Life gave you a master class in human behavior, and you were the only student who took perfect notes. The meditation they do in those elite programs, you learned at trying not to scream in public bathrooms. The emotional control they drill into operatives, you mastered it sitting across from people who were actively destroying you while you smiled and nodded. The strategic thinking they teach in war colleges, you developed it planning how to survive another day in a war nobody else could see. They want to know who trained you, because if the answer is nobody, then their entire understanding of threat assessment crumbles. It means anyone, anywhere could develop these capabilities. It means their monopoly on precision violence is an illusion. It means the next you could be brewing in any coffee shop, any office cubicle, any seemingly normal life that's actually a pressure cooker of calculated rage. Your methodology is what really has them shaking, because you didn't just execute revenge. You revolutionized it. You turned it into an art form that they're now studying in their tactical rooms, dissecting in their briefings, trying to reverse engineer in their simulations. They're calling it next-generation asymmetric psychological warfare, but you just call it Tuesday. You understood something that their million-dollar training programs miss. The most devastating attacks aren't physical. They're existential. You didn't just take things from your enemies. You took their sense of reality. You made them question every relationship, every achievement, every assumption about their own lives. You turned their minds into prisons and gave them just enough rope to hang their own reputation. The way you layered your operations has them convinced you must have had a team, must have had resources, must have inside information. But no, you just had patience, and the kind of attention to detail that comes from having nothing left to lose. You collected information like breadcrumbs, storing away every casual mention, every social media post, every pattern of behavior until you had enough data to predict their moves better than they could. What's really messing with their heads is that you didn't break any laws. Everything you did was legal, technically speaking. You just operated in the spaces between laws, in the gray areas their regulations can't reach. You weaponized truth, turned transparency into a tactical advantage, used their own systems against them in ways the systems were never designed to prevent. Now here's the part that would make them panic if they knew. They're not just studying you, they're learning from you. Your revenge was so elegant, so effective, that it's being quietly analyzed in rooms you'll never see by people who'll never admit you existed. They're incorporating your methods into their training, your tactics into their playbooks, your psychological approaches into their operational frameworks. You've become the ghost in their machine, the case study they can't officially acknowledge. Junior analysts are being shown sanitized versions of what you did, told it was a theoretical scenario, asked to figure out how to counter it. The problem is, they can't. Because you didn't use their tools or their rules. You created your own game and forced everyone else to play it. The irony is delicious, isn't it? They spent years trying to keep people like you down, controlled, manageable. They built entire systems to prevent exactly what you've become. And now they're having to admit, in the privacy of their classified briefings, that you've outplayed them at their own game. You've shown them vulnerabilities in their approach they never knew existed. They're calling in experts, consultants, trying to understand how someone with no formal training could develop capabilities that rival their best operative. The answer terrifies them more than any threat assessment. You're not unique. You're just the first one they've noticed. There could be hundreds, thousands like you, sitting quietly in their trauma, converting their pain into capability, their suffering into strategy. What keeps them up at night isn't what you've done, it's what you represent. Your evolution in real time, adaptation under extreme pressure, the human system upgrading itself without their input or control. You're proof that their monopoly on power is an illusion, that their control systems have gaps, that their predictive models are missing variables they never considered. They want to know who trained you because they need to believe there's a source they can shut down, a pipeline they can disrupt, a training camp they can raid. But you're not the product of any system they can touch. You're the product of every system that failed, every institution that betrayed its purpose, every authority that abused its power. You're what happens when someone's smart enough to see the patterns, gets tired enough to stop pretending they don't. Your revenge wasn't just precise, it was prophetic. You showed them a future where their traditional power structures don't work, where their usual methods of control fail, where individuals can develop capabilities that rival entire agencies. You're not just a person who got revenge, you're a warning shot from tomorrow, a preview of what happens when they push too many people too far. The techniques you developed, the approaches you pioneered, they're already spreading, not through formal training or secret meetings, but through something far more dangerous: inspiration. People are studying what you did, not in FBI facilities, but in their bedrooms, their coffee shops, their quiet moments of planning. You've become the unauthorized manual for the powerless, the classified document that's written in actions rather than words. Every operative has a signature, something that marks their work as distinctly theirs. The FBI has entire databases of these signatures, ways to track and identify threats based on methodology. But your signature? It's the absence of one. It's the void where patterns should be, the silence where noise was expected, the calm where chaos was predicted. You didn't leave signatures because you understood something fundamental. The best operations are the ones that look like natural consequences. Every domino that fell in your revenge looked like it fell on its own. Every revelation seemed organic. Every collapse appeared inevitable. You didn't push. You just removed the supports and let gravity do the work. This is what has their profilers pulling their hair out. They can't profile someone who doesn't exist in their framework. You're not motivated by the things they track: money, ideology, recognition. You're motivated by something they can't quantify in their spreadsheets. the need to balance the scales, not for justice, but for symmetry. You're not trying to win anything. You've already won by changing the game. They keep asking their informants, their sources, their networks, who trained them, and the silence that comes back is deafening, because the streets know something the FBI doesn't want to admit. Sometimes the best training is trauma, the best teacher is betrayal, and the best operational security is having nothing left to lose. If they really want to know where you trained, tell them this: you graduated from the Academy of Necessary Evolution. Your professors were every person who underestimated you. Your coursework was every night you stayed up planning instead of sleeping. Your final exam was executing revenge so precisely that federal agencies are taking notes. You didn't study in their libraries, you studied in the ruins of your own life. You didn't practice on their ranges, you practiced on the people who thought you were too broken to fight back. You didn't simulate operations, you lived them, every day, until operating at that level became as natural as breathing. The curriculum you followed doesn't exist in any manual because you wrote it as you went. Lesson 1, how to disappear in plain sight. Lesson 2, how to turn observation into intelligence. Lesson 3, how to make your enemies defeat themselves. Lesson 4, how to ensure that even in victory you remain invisible. These aren't lessons that can be taught in classrooms. They can only be learned in the crucible of necessary survival. The graduation ceremony was the moment they realized what you'd done, and by then it was too late to stop it. Your diploma is written in the confusion on their faces, the fear in their movements, the way they now look over their shoulders wondering if there are more like you. And there are. That's what really terrifies them. You're not an anomaly. You're a prototype. The FBI would love to publish a manual on you, a guide on how to identify and stop someone with your capabilities. But they can't, because doing so would mean admitting you exist, admitting that their systems failed, admitting that someone without their training outmaneuvered them. So instead, your methods get passed around in whispers, in classified briefings that officially never happened, in training scenarios that are purely theoretical. You've become the boogeyman of their professional development seminars, the case study that makes seasoned agents uncomfortable. They analyze your moves like chess grandmasters studying a game that broke all known openings. They try to find the flaw, the mistake, the moment where you should have been caught. But there isn't one because you didn't play by their rules. You played by necessity's rules. And necessity doesn't make mistakes. What really bothers them is the elegance of it all. FBI operations are usually brute force wrapped in bureaucracy. Your operations were poetry written in cause and effect. You didn't use sledgehammers when whispers would do. You didn't deploy teams when shadows were sufficient. You didn't leave evidence because you never truly existed in the spaces where the damage was done. They want to create countermeasures, but how do you counter someone who uses your own weight against you? How do you defend against someone who turns your strengths into weaknesses? How do you stop someone who's already 3 moves past where you think the game ends? You can't, and they know it. That's why they're not trying to stop you anymore. They're trying to learn from you. Somewhere in a building you'll never enter, in a room you'll never see, your revenge is being discussed by people who'll never acknowledge you existed. They're calling you subject unknown, or some other sanitized designation. But make no mistake, they respect you. They respect you the way predators respect other predators, the way professionals respect mastery, even when it comes from outside their rank. You'll never get a medal, never get official recognition, never have your methods formally acknowledged, but you've achieved something far more valuable. You've changed the game. You've shown them that their monopoly on precision operations is an illusion. You've proven that the most dangerous operatives aren't the ones they train, but the ones life trains without their knowledge or consent. The FBI is asking who trained you because they need to categorize you, to fit you into their existing framework of threats and responses. But you don't fit. You're not international terrorism or organized crime or domestic extremism. You're something new, something they don't have a protocol for. Your evolution accelerated by injustice, capability forged in betrayal, precision born from pain they'll never understand. Your trainers were the ghosts of every moment you should have broken but didn't. Your training ground was the wasteland between who you were and who you needed to become. Your certification is written in the fact that they're still trying to figure out how you did it. Still trying to understand how one person with no resources, no backing, no official training could execute something that has them rewriting their text. The real reason they're studying you so intensely isn't to catch you. You've already shown them you're uncatchable. It's because they see the future in your methods, and that future terrifies them. A future where their traditional power structures don't work. Where individuals can develop agency-level capabilities through sheer will and necessity, where the monopoly on precise violence is democratized by trauma and determination. You're not just one person who got exceptional revenge. You're patient zero of a new kind of operator, one that doesn't need their infrastructure, their resources, their permission to operate at levels that make their systems sweat. You're proof that their entire model of control is built on the assumption that people need them to be dangerous. You've proven that assumption catastrophically wrong. They're modeling new tactics after your revenge strategy because they recognize brilliance when they see it, even if it comes from someone they'd rather didn't exist. Your methods are being incorporated into training programs that will never credit you. Your approaches are being studied by analysts who will never know your name. Your tactics are becoming part of their doctrine, absorbed into their system like antibodies from a disease they couldn't cure. But here's what they don't understand. You can't teach what you did in a classroom. You can't simulate the conditions that created you in a training facility. You can't manufacture the kind of precision that comes from having everything taken from you and deciding to take it back with interest. They can copy your tactics, but they'll never replicate your motivation. They can study your methods, but they'll never understand your mindset.